Alright, here's Alex again from Blacksheep IT Consulting, and you have seen in my latest video that I've been, well, vibe coding my way through the old devpops source code. And yeah, please take a look at the previous video if you don't know what devpops is, and there are tons of videos on devpops. And devpops is basically a way to teach people how Siebel works both on the outside and the inside. And this time with the really educational Siebel toolkit, that is the name I chose. That of course comes down to REST. It's just from the outside, basically, sorry, from the inside, but from the inside out, as we use the Siebel REST API mostly to discover or make useful tools that can help you understand the Siebel REST API better, and that also can help you understand a lot about how Siebel works. So in this second part, I would like to give you a quick walkthrough of what I've built. The tool is not available for public. I decided not to make any vibe-coded code available for public. You can understand that. But you can see how far the agentic AI, in my case, Claude Code, has come. This is 100% vibe coded with instructions from me, of course. I myself count myself among the people who know the Siebel REST API because, well, we teach it on the Siebel Hub. So check out the description for some cool courses. So let's go start at what I've built first, and this is actually something not really available in devpops, but it's something that I always wanted to have when you are preparing import files or CSV files, etc., JSON, XML, any integration built on integration objects. You first have to know your business objects. So let's load the business objects here. So this gives us a list of all business objects that are available through the REST API. So that's an interesting find here as well. You can list those. And let's pick account, and it jumps to the second part. Now it lists all the integration objects available. Now there are lots of inbound integration objects for account. Let's pick a custom one I built here. Of course, you can filter here, BCRM, account IO, select that. And as you can see, it's loading the integration object through repository introspection calls. And the integration components are mapped to business components, and the integration component fields are mapped to business component fields. We all know that. And very often you have to do this cross-referencing lookup. So for example, you can see already here account territory has no keys, so it's query only. So that tells us immediately it has inspected the repository very thoroughly. So if we expand account, we see all the fields available through the integration component, and the integration component marks field as required and also the business component. So we can filter the required fields, but the business component inspection tells us there's a default value. You don't really have to worry about it unless you want to set it to a different value. But name is a special field. It's required without a default, and it's also part of the second user key. So that is what you really want to know. For example, what are my key fields if I want to do upsert operations? So these are the key fields. You can see them across the first and the second keys. And now, of course, you can do is, select the key fields for usage in the template. And then I can go to the next, to the child PC, account business address. And let's just select the required and the key fields. So again, we have the same. We also see system fields are marked. You can not really select them because they're system. And so forth. So you end up having a nice selection of fields. And now you can go to the final part. We can generate your CSV template. And you might recognize this structure. This is the name of the integration object, the field mapping, and there's a dummy row here so you can get started in your Excel spreadsheet and fill in the data. So you have basically you have the first two lines. That's what you want, the header for the famous read CSV service, which is under the Siebel marketing license. And you can also generate a JSON template. So it gives you the correct array-based imports. You can use that as a payload in a REST call. Of course, all you have to do is fill in the data correctly. So it's a template after all, while we have the list of addresses and we have the customer names here, or the account fields. So yeah, that's the template generator. And once you have the template filled with data, you can go to import. And yeah, guess what? You can choose the file and you can import that. So let me see if I find a file quickly. So I have found a test file I created, and that has a lot of errors. So that was for edge case testing. And I'm uploading that. So the Go-based backend processes that data and says, okay, that's the integration object, business components. And it has 13 fields and it's 120 records. So we can define a batch size. So let's make a batch size of two records per request. We can do parallel requests. We can do a wait time between requests. So let's execute the import. And you can see that many batches fail because there are so many errors in the records. But you can already see, well, let's just let it run through. So you can see the failed batches outnumber the successful by a great margin, which is intentional. We have a successful batch here. And once it's imported everything, that's pure Siebel REST inbound operations. Let's see if the insights capture that. Yeah, we have put requests with the payload. You can see here. And there's one successful one, but there's a lot of unsuccessful ones. This is also, the insight panel gives you all the REST and eScript calls that are made. And here we can see the exact error message that comes back. Yeah, the state was not good enough for the bounded pick list, etc. And there's a successful one. So that is basically the first two tiles that we developed for generating the template. Then you go and fill the template, and then you import your data using, of course, all the time we use the Siebel REST API here. So that's a very valuable learning experience. Building something like that is valuable learning. So feel encouraged to build yourself, and also using it and inspecting what goes on behind the scenes is very educational. Then if you want to learn more about REST, you can build a REST playground, and that only supports GET at the time. So, and it starts with selecting your business object. So let's go, for example, with contact, and it loads the available business components, and then it's loading the fields that you can select. So we can, for example, grab the first name and the last name. So that interface, of course, is also something I'm experimenting with, finding the best way of the user for the user to parse these immense numbers of fields that are available. So I'm sure that first name, last name in the GET would always work. So we could add a search spec here, but let's don't do this, and send the request. And we get some responses here, yeah. So that's the raw JSON coming back, and can view as a table. So again, it's one thing. It's about learning how to do a Siebel GET request in this case, right, properly. And it's also learning how you can display that data or even export that export that to CSV in a bespoke application that is not inside Siebel, that's outside of Siebel. And of course uses the Siebel REST API. So in the Insights panel, we have all the calls that have been made, even the workspace introspection calls, which help us list all the fields and business components. Okay, so that's the playground. Then back to the Launchpad. The flow is one of my favorites, really, because it's actually, yeah, I realized maybe too late that I'm reinventing too many wheels here, but it's just so fun to use. So basically, you can come up, it's an external application with any type of flow type, and that's of course imitating a lot of available environments. And let me just load an example flow I saved. You can save flows. And so we have, for example, one step that allows us to set variables. Very fond of that. So I have a search pattern and an output file. See where this is going. So this just sets some variables for the flow. Then we have a data step which uses the Siebel REST API. So you can get, post, delete, business object, business component. So it does a REST search, and the output is saved in account. So that'll be the JSON saved in account. So this is all running. This is not running inside Siebel. It's just making requests to Siebel or any other system, really. And of course, there are commercial systems that do this. So I don't want to re-implement those. But it was just a fun experiment. How far can I push Claude Code in vibe coding mode? And this was basically a quick shot. 1 hour, 1.5 hours spent at most developing this functional flow designer that of course can run the flow. So we have an eScript step here, running Siebel eScript through the very, very dangerous service we have out of devpops. Subflow is running, data is extracted into variables, and writes to output files. So let's run this so you can see it's really doing it. It's really running all the steps, and here you have all the data that flows by. So why not stop? Don't stop yourself. You can have a parallel branching here, things you cannot do in Siebel out of the box, or things that are maybe too expensive to buy. Well, this is just inspiration. This is nothing is stopping you with a good agent buddy that you have. Again, this is 100% vibe coded. And it's very impressive what these things are capable of, right? I mean, I'm a JavaScript, Java programming boomer. I've programmed by hand 30 years. Or maybe I'm too easily impressed. But what about this? What about building a health monitor for your Siebel environment? So this will interrogate the Cloud Gateway REST API a lot. And it has collected data, so my gateway is up. There are 2 servers, both are up. The one has 21 components running, the other 10. There's probably not much going on right now because there's 0 active users, but that will maybe change over time. So I can see there is definitely somebody using the call center object manager. There is the EI object manager being used by the very system we're looking at. So over time, it cumulates the data, component states over time. So you have a running graph, you have an error summary, and you have components that are available on the server. You have server stats, server log access, available services, so how much capacity do you still have for call center? So we have 40 sessions capacity here. EAI, we're utilizing 2 already. So that you can run in the background. It refreshes every 30 seconds, does a lot of calls to the Cloud Gateway API, and interprets that and puts it on the screen. So yeah, you can build that by using the Cloud Gateway REST API. So the Insight panel shows, okay, it actually makes a lot of calls, as you can see, to get that real-time information. So the Cloud Gateway REST API is also a very hidden gem, basically, in Siebel to get this read-only data, but it's not just read-only, mind you. Okay, then we have the apps builder. Yes, I'm very fond of showing people that you can build a bespoke REST app maybe in a few days, a few hours with vibe coding, or even in a few minutes with this app builder that, yeah, basically Claude and I came up late at night. So let's load an existing app. So what you do here is basically select add tabs. So we have 3 tabs already defined. And so this one has the account label, has an icon we can choose, business object, integration objects already selected. And then you can do the field selection again. So we have probably the account status field is not in the current object. Yeah, we can see it's preloading. So that's a preview of your account. Only choosing 2 fields right now. So you get the idea. Let's see for contacts. Contacts also, yeah, it's loading nicely. And opportunity object that I created. There's also too many fields. Revenue is not a good field. Oh, we want to. We're happy with that for now. So you get the idea. You get a scrollable application tab for that. Of course, is not just previewed here. It's a real app definition running on the backend now. So if I save that, you can see that I have /app, my CRM app, is now available on that machine. So let's go there. So you can see I've opened the URL. Imagine that is hosted on a server on the internet that's reachable or through your VPN, and you can now open this in a browser of your choice. So this would be the side menu, view, tablet-sized devices, and on the phone-sized device, this will of course switch to this view and has a little search. So I can search for a mic. There's no mic there. Okay. Miles. Okay, that's the last name it searches for, and there's Anthony Miller, and you can edit them. It's not really ready for use, but you can definitely edit something, save it back. It says record update. It's really happening, believe me. So yeah, that's a real app hosted now on the backend, and you can make it available through your reverse proxy, and you can use that app builder to extend it. And you get the general idea. So there's also themes we can set really quickly to make this look very nice, right? So whenever I save this in the new theme and reload here, that is applied to the app itself that is available to the users. And again, I might be too easily impressed, but that is a vibe-coded app builder that Claude Code built with instructions from me and with the knowledge of the Siebel REST API and the knowledge, the backend knowledge that it brought onto the table by building a Go application that acts as this backend I run here on port 8443. All right, and for the final demo, there was the last fun tile that we built for the Launchpad. I was always fond of explaining to people how the repository, the Siebel repository, is really a work of art, and it's an intertwined concept of things that reference each other, and the Juggernaut application is visualizing that. So yeah, this is what the Siebel repository looks like if you build out most of the references, not all, mind you, most of the references. So for example, you can see application having screen menu items or page tabs which point to screens. And of course you can filter that. You can make this a little bit easier for the eye. If you just focus on the UI here, we have the screen view pointing to a view, but there's also a default view. Then there's the web template item, applets. You get the idea, right? And you can flip this top to bottom. So this is the user interface of as defined in Siebel CRM in a whole different display mode. And we can bring in the business model. So this now adds the business object, business component. It adds the links, the joins, the fields, all with the references. And if I just load all the layers, that's a little bit complex, but as you can see, it even has the workflow policy objects and the toolbars and whatnot. So this was a very fun project, and then, I always like to challenge our new friends in the office, in my case Claude Code, and I challenge it to build a 3D graph out of that information, and it has built it. So this is just another way of navigating the Siebel repository structure. So for example, business component focuses in, and we can see all the reference points from scripts, applet server script. You can see there's a hover tooltip. Of course, there's a reference to business object class, applet reference. So the business component is now in the center of attention. And then you can, for example, click on the applet. Now the applet is in the center of attention. And you can, pan and zoom your way in and out of this. So this is the whole, molecule, if you will, if that's an analogy, of 81 object types actually in total, and their most prominent connections. Let's end here with this view, this very unusual view of the Siebel repository. So giving you a sense and a taste of what is possible today with vibe coding techniques, with generative AI assisted coding. Of course, warning here, do not put any code you vibe code in production without fully understanding it. This is an experimental exercise. So the really educational Siebel toolkit is something that we will start using in our Siebel training whenever we talk about the REST API or other things. We use it as an educational platform for our students here at the Siebel Hub. So if you're interested in our live learning opportunities, check out the links in the description so you can benefit from this in our next live class. Hope to see you there. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and bye-bye.